Welcome to Stitchery Stories, where textile artists share their life in fabric and thread, inspiration, techniques, disasters and delights. And I'm Susan Reeks, enthusiastic embroiderer and textile art dabbler who also loves podcasting. So take a break and enjoy our light-hearted chat, and please share with your friends so they can enjoy it too. Hello and welcome today to our lovely guest, Erika Maizi. Hi, Erika.
Hi, Susan. Thank you for having me here today.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Right, everybody, this is going to be really fascinating. We've got a brilliant story going on here. And so I will be changing up our format very slightly, just so that we can get Erika's story out to you today. So the first different thing I'm going to do is I'm going to instead of reading out a bio, I'm just going to let Erika, in her own words, explain, just introduce herself for a couple of sentences, and then we'll move on to the rest of our conversation. And of course, before I forget, Erika, all of Erika's links, and she's got lots of different resources and information, will all be on her episode of stitcherystories.com. All right? So over to you, Erika, and give yourself as if you were reading out your bio.
Yeah, so hello, everybody. I'm Erika Maizi. I'm originally from Kazakhstan, Almaty, Kazakhstan, where I lived the first 9 years of my life after my family moved to live in Germany for over 30 years now. And what happened with me, I felt very disconnected and uprooted after leaving my family in Kazakhstan. And that was most of my life up until the point 3 years ago, when I did an online conference around natural living and learning, where I met a woman who was actually going to a certain school in Russia and who knew this very old, red Russian art of embroidery. It's a very sacred form of embroidery where girls and women are very connected to their own nature and all surrounded them. And where each symbol is connected with the divine and carries very deep sacred symbolism. And so I was so intrigued from hearing this embroidery art. So it reminded me maybe in a previous life I did that. I don't know, but it never left me alone ever since. And I was researching and asking around. And as it happened, this one Russian woman, she then invited a Russian artist, embroidery artist, to the German island of Rügen in May 2017. And that's where my story of reconnection and of picking up my unique destiny thread began. I learned how to embroider my destiny towel, which is called rushnik in Russian, with sacred symbolism, and started to dive deeper. It followed then with my unique destiny dress, with my unique goddesses symbols embroidered in it. And I traveled then with the Trans-Siberian Railway back to Kazakhstan and Mongolia, and also to other Anastasia villages to embroider with more women. Yeah, and this is how this weaving drew me ever since, up to the point where I actually put this all together in a book, which is called The Weirding Way, that I published on the magical day of my birthday this year. It's the 4th. Yeah, and in this book, this is my story continued, where through the practice of sacred embroidery, also the three Norse from Norse mythology of the past, present and future, weaving through me. And so the whole practice is a very sacred process of the mysterious art of weaving your own destiny. How would you like to pass it on to others?
That's just absolutely brilliant. I really love the way in which, yet again, embroidery has really had a massive impact on your life. We've heard it from so many other guests where embroidery in some shape, way or form has had a big impact on their life. And I mean, I think this is one of the most powerful stories. Let's dive in, shall we? And I've got loads of questions for you about all of this. So had you been involved with embroidery before, or was this one of this kind of awakening it was just something that when you discovered this lady was coming in after this online conference, is that where your interest started, Erika, in embroidery?
It was the first time in my life that I got in contact, like really with the thread in such a conscious way. Yeah, I remember it for briefly in school days, but no, I never practiced it up until this point.
Right. Okay. And so you spent time learning how to make the you call it your destiny towel. So we've got a picture of that, and actually, whilst we're doing the interview, Erika's got it draped like a shawl across her. So it's a large piece, and it's covered in different symbols. So those symbols are all very sacred. Have all got a lot of meaning. So were you attracted to the meaning behind the symbols as you were stitching and learning about them, Erika?
Yes, that was actually the very first step before doing the practice. It's like connecting with the divine, which is weaving through all of us. When we learn to connect to our inner wisdom of the divine weaving through us, and then we receive messages and in terms of the signs. And then I started to learn what the meanings of the signs. And then, like every stitch is a meditative practice based on principles. Like it's very important to not cut the thread. So it's a certain technique without cutting that we should only embroider if we're in a meditative state. And it all goes like a life thread. It's like in waves. The whole towel, and the whole towel is also like a world tree. It has got 3 worlds with deep meanings of connection with our ancestors, the physical realm, and the divine. So every stitch, every symbol, everything is very sacred about this form of embroidery.
Right. So it's not just an exercise in decoration. Oh, I'm going to, like we would make a tablecloth, for example, right? I've got my pattern. This is what I'm going to do. It's totally opposite to that. Do you have a design in mind before, or is it as you're kind of in your meditative state that a design will come to you?
In the meditative state, the design is coming to us. And at the beginning, I needed help of the translation of the symbols, of the feelings which have arisen and have emerged through me. And then the Russian master started to tell me about the meaning of the symbolism, and I started to compile those symbols, which I also included in my book. And this is a journey unfolding because it's an endless journey, and there is so much wisdom which has been forgotten as well. It's like a secret language, especially of us women who all around the world have got their different ways of expressing themselves through embroidery. And this fascinates me a lot as well. Yeah, so I'm dreaming about the foundation for the preservation of all embroidered arts, because all of them tell a story. That's why I was so fascinated by this podcast, Stitching Stories. It's a different way of language of expression.
And so is your destiny towel, is it ever finished? Do you go back to it and add something else, or how does that work?
Well, this destiny towel, which took me over a year to embroider, this is finished. It has got my 3 worlds, like for connection with the ancestors, the physical world, the divine. And for me, it's just like every time I put it on, I'm wearing it. It's a connection with a certain symbolism and the energies which I carry through it, which are weaving through me. So for me, it's rather connecting with it as often as possible. So when I do full moon rituals or the ceremonies, I'm wearing it. Or like today, I'm wearing it, of course.
Yeah, I love that. Normally, this is just audio. Well, we always do it via video. So it was just really lovely of Erika to see you with your destiny towel draped around your shoulders. It's obviously of deep, deep personal meaning for you. So absolutely fascinating. Now, after you really connected with this process of creating your destiny towel and learning about the symbolism of the embroidery, then did that spark your then desire to return back to Kazakhstan?
Yes, because literally for me it meant picking up the thread and the needle
Yes.
was like my longing to reconnect with my lost roots, which I felt like for over 30 years that I was missing.
Yeah.
And I felt such a strong then longing to go to reconnect with my mother's family. Are still living all in Kazakhstan.
Oh, right. So you've got a lot of family there.
From my father's side, they're all still there. And my father was brought up in Siberia. So it was also this longing, like to reconnect with them. And that's why I went on a 2-month journey, like almost 2 months, with the Trans-Siberian Express all the way to Russia and Kazakhstan, Mongolia. And I did it with the help of a crowdfunding campaign, where I was actually also planting tree seeds of my Celtic tree, a birth tree, which is a rowan. So wherever I stopped at certain places where I felt like a deep connection, I was planting tree seeds and also trying to connect with indigenous women from Siberia and in my country of origin, and in Mongolia also learned Kazakh style embroidery from the oldest Kazakh like indigenous people who live in the Altai Mountains, crossing Kazakhstan and Mongolia. And that's how I felt through the embroidery. I was really healing and reconnecting with my ancestral roots, which I felt so separated from for most of my life. So it was a really healing journey for me.
Yeah, it really sounds like it. And so I think the experience there of connecting with the kind of older women, so were they teaching you certain styles of embroidery, traditional styles that they work on? A lot of this is kind of hidden to a lot of us, isn't it? We don't see it.
No, because we buy it because it looks beautiful, but there is a whole wisdom behind it. Like we women always came together and expressed ourselves like with hands creatively, and this tells stories. And I was most fascinated about the symbolism. Alone in Mongolia, there are like over 82 ethnic minorities, and they all have got different costumes, and they all tell a different story, like based on the different traditional cultural roots. So the Kazakh images and symbols are totally different to the Siberian, for example, or to the Mongolian. And I discovered that this is a lost art form, which is even it goes so quickly that the most young people, they don't even know that. And it's just dying out. So that's why it's my deep longing to preserve this beautiful art of embroidery.
Is it the embroidery is based on the traditional costumes, the traditional clothing and practical household items? Was that the kind of embroidery that you were seeing?
Yes, it's like the carpets, like the hat, my Kazakh hat my family gave me. It all has got a unique symbolism. Like the Kazakh flag has got also a symbol, like emblem, which are actually 2 Aries horns, but which look like a heart.
Yes.
And we can see it in textiles, in carpets, and in different forms, but it's based on this national symbol. And it's beautiful, and it's most of the time it's actually a symbol of animals which are holy to this particular area. In Siberia, there were more like these animals which look like deer with very big horns, like elk, and that's where you see it in their symbolism. Whilst in Kazakhstan, it's the areas which is more commonly used in everyday life. So the symbol which looks like a heart are the horns of an Aries, and also the paintings on the stones which I visited. They all tell a story of the animals which are living there in the surrounding. And I find it fascinating how there is so much wisdom for the eyes to see, or for people who take the time to listen and to ask what the stories are.
Wow, it must have been so difficult to leave. So you're back in Germany, aren't you? You're based in Germany still?
Yes, I'm based in Germany still. But
right.
I'm so much love like I've been to Kazakhstan last year as well to visit my family, and I've got such a strong longing, like to build this foundation for the preservation of all embroidered arts, and also like an Etsy shop, or I'm trying to learn new skills of how to run an e-commerce business so that I can also make those beautiful handcrafts available to a wider public.
Yes. Now, that's a brilliant idea as well, because I say this is, especially since a lot of those areas were enveloped by the USSR, when all the countries were all like kind of like lumped together, and so much recent history as well, which has contributed to kind of trying to repress and squash a lot of these fabulous cultures and their art. So I think that was just brilliant to try and bring back and let other people see. It's a bit like when I was speaking to Diane Gaffney, who does a similar thing over in Thailand and works with a lot of the hill tribes there. And, and she focuses on the kind of Southeast Asian textiles. So, yeah, I think that's a really, really interesting way to kind of move forward, because it's such a shame that these things kind of get lost through cultural and political, mostly political reasons. It's just, I'm just so amazed at what you're trying to do, Erika, and that's just fantastic. There's so much to learn there.
Oh, definitely. After I returned with the Trans-Siberian Railway, I also connected with shamans, and one shaman in Mongolia told me that my ancestors are from the Altai Mountains, and that they are so happy that after 30 years, I finally connected with them. And she said to me that it's important for me to connect with people from the Altai Mountain as often as possible.
Yeah.
And so what happened when I returned back, I started researching, and I came across a Siberian shaman, Ahamkara, who also lives in an Anastasia village, which is described in those books, where I started to remember the embroidery. And the woman, the Russian master, also lives in an Anastasia village in Russia. He is organizing trips to the sacred mountain Beluga. So I went on the trip with him in 2018. And I also spent the rest of the time after visiting Beluga with indigenous women to continue learning more about the embroidery. And that's where I stitched a 13 worlds ruchnik with them and learned to also do different styles of embroidery. And last year I went back to visit my family in Kazakhstan again.
Right. Wow.
And I feel forever connected now to this people in land. And that's why it's my big longing to open an online shop to sell those beautiful embroidered products, and also for me to allow to travel there in the future as often as possible. And I'm dreaming to have a base in Kazakhstan as well, where I live some months of the year, because those are my roots, where I lived the first 9 years of my life. And it's not a coincidence that my mother's side, who unfortunately died 14 years ago, that they still live there, all of them.
Right. Yeah. So you've got a deep connection there that you've brought again. So anybody listening, and also for you, Erika, then go and listen to Diane Gaffney's episode, because Diane travels out to Southeast Asia and sets up a base there. So you two would have a lot in common. This is fabulous. Making your destiny towel. What's the proper name? Ruchnik. Made by hand. Right, ruchnik. So you did that, and you've obviously done. You were talking about creating another one there. What other items of embroidery have you worked on, Erika, that you can tell us about? What style were they?
Well, after I returned from the Trans-Siberian Railway, with this form of embroidery, because it's such a meditative practice and a journey more and more home to ourselves, I wanted to dive deeper to find out more. And that's how I came across 2 Russian women who run a German business called 7 Women Wings, even though it has got an English name, but it's currently all in German and in Russian.
Yeah.
And they're giving readings, soul tree horoscope readings, because in Slavic tradition, when we are born, we have got 7 goddesses, which are called Bereginis in Russian, who support us through our lives. And those 7 goddesses are like a tree.
Right.
There are 3 supportive goddesses standing for the roots, which come from our ancestral powers, giving us grounding in our lives. And there is one main energy in the center, which for me is the raven, is the wise one, who's connected to the ancestrals. And like the crow, the raven, they're also the transmitters between life and death, between worlds. So she's my main goddess energy. And 3 who are like pulling us forwards to fulfill our gifts in this life.
Yeah.
And they together form a soul tree horoscope. And it touched me so much that I started to sew my own dress, and with those different symbols of my unique 7 goddess energies. And this has become my shamanic dress, which is alive, because when I put it on, those goddess energies are really like my second skin. They're like really close to me, and I feel very protective and very powerful in this dress. And there are certain shamanic movements to connect with those Bereginis, and altogether there are 27 of them.
Right.
And I continue then to embroider all of them on certain pouches, and I do Beregini goddess readings.
Right.
Where I guide women to discover their own unique Beregini, with an invitation to connect with those very divine energies, which are always there for us and they're around us. But a lot of times when we don't know how to connect with them, we feel lost or disconnected. And this is a beautiful way through the embroidery, through conscious connection with those goddess symbols and energies, to feel very whole and connected and powerful.
Yeah, wow. So this is just so much more than embroidering pretty images and pretty pictures and so on. I had no idea there was so much symbolism, and when you talk about sacred embroidery, I can really understand that now. Now, we've had people talk about slow stitching and the kind of meditative effects of that. This is like slow stitching on steroids, isn't it? It's going so much deeper into your own personal destiny in life. Yeah, it's just wow. I'm absolutely fascinated by this. I may not be explaining myself very well here, but this is all very untrodden territory for me as well. There's a lot of passion goes on in here. There's all the sacredness and your own kind of personal journey. This might sound silly, but do you do embroidery as a way to kind of pass the time, as a hobby, to make something pretty, to learn new skills? Like lots of us do embroidery for that reason. Do you do any of that as well, Erika? I'm fascinated to know.
Well, as it happens, I visited the Royal School of Embroidery in London, because I lived in London for 6 years in the past. And now I cannot really do any courses in person due to coronavirus.
Yes.
But I've been there for a visit now between the years, for example, and to connect to this beauty of embroidery art, I actually purchased a gold work embroidery set from the Royal School of Embroidery. And when it started, it was really just to practice this beautiful skill, to learn a new skill of gold work embroidery.
Yeah.
But then, because I like to do it with other women, as it happened, like a friend in London who didn't embroider all her life.
Yeah, I've never embroidered yet.
She got so passionate that we started to do it together. But it doesn't stay just with embroidery, because this happened like if we do like a flower, we embroider a flower with the golden thread. And what is emerging now is that a program, a weaving wealth workshop is developing through the different stages. We are literally embroidering, like connecting and grounding ourselves in the essence and the center, what is unique to us, and the different petals. I like the different weekly programs, and what started just purely as a hobby also has taken like a sacred root of like transformation.
Yeah.
And I find that ever so interesting. Like, I think since I experienced this transformation, for me, it's never anymore just practice like, I just do like embroidery. It is the whole practice for me is like my main soul transformation and healing journey.
Wow. Just, I'll be honest with you, I'm nearly crying here. It's really weird for me. No, I'm just laughing and giggling, aren't I? But, crikey. Right. So again, you've taken what started off as, I'm going to learn some gold work and I'm going to do a nice flower to do that. As again, just you've gone a lot deeper with it. You've got somebody else involved. You've made that connection back with a friend. You're both on that journey, learning not just the gold work, but as you say, you've now turned it's back to the symbolism, isn't it? In the
yes,
kind of, I was going to say magic, but yeah, the magic of what you're doing is so much more than just making something pretty with pretty golden thread, although I'm sure it looks beautiful. So that'll be something that, if you wouldn't mind, you could share with us as well, Erika, so we could see your progress. So was that a specific kit that you got from the Royal School of Needlework, or was that like the materials and you've made your own design and as you felt compelled to explore it deeper?
No, it was all in the set. It's called Goldwork Embroidery by Jane Hawkes.
Right.
On the website, so they're different. They've got different online courses, and it was interesting for me as well that whilst I was like embroidering mainly with the red and black thread in the past, because this is and the white.
Yes.
Part of the feminine trinity, and there's the whole symbolism coming with the colors as well in this sacred embroidery. But then I felt like I've watched a documentary about the Kogi people. It's called Aluna. Maybe some viewers, listeners know this documentary. Very soul touching. On the Kogi people, they go to the parts which have been like, in nature distorted and like energetically, they're very connected with nature. They feel where the nature is disconnected and being harmed.
Yes.
And then going around with a big roll of golden thread, their prayers, and they weave those separated parts of the world back together with the golden thread. And it touched me so much that for, I think, half a year now, I've heard this call now to weave with the golden thread, and specifically like the golden thread stands for the separation from wealth and abundance and prosperity, because money carries so much shadows and so much harm on the human on our beautiful earth. And so for me, the golden thread, when it's done in a sacred way, like those Kogi people, it's like weaving wealth with new principles, because I'm also involved with the Care First movement with people from the Finton community in Scotland, and it's all about of weaving the golden thread of wealth based on prosperity and love and abundance, and no longer on greed and war and harm. And it's also part of the restoration, because going back now all the way to my ancestral roots, the Silk Road was running through Kazakhstan, India, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, and those were very rich countries with a very rich tradition. And it has all been displaced through colonization, and it's also part of restoring.
Restoring what's been wrecked with the symbolism of the thread. Wow! Now, so that's absolutely amazing that you've. Again, the interest in the gold work was sparked by the stories, the rituals, the symbolism, and you wrapping with the golden thread. So I can see now why you were attracted to the gold work. And something you said a couple of minutes ago about the colours of red, black, and white. That makes sense now, because yes, we see a lot of the bits. The kind of glimpses of the traditional embroidery of the areas like Kazakhstan or the things that we see are very often red, black and white. And I didn't realise why. But again, it's the traditional and the symbolism involved in those colours. So yeah, wow, so many things make sense. And there's a comment that you've written, begin to weave and the divine will provide the thread. And I think that's a brilliant way to sum up really how you've combined or how you've come into embroidery and come to see the importance that it's had traditionally in people's lives, and also how it's helped you connect with like a lost culture really as well. So sometimes we've just really got to start, haven't we, and see where things will go. And we talk about weaving a story and the threads of our life, and I think you're bringing all of this together in a absolutely fascinating way, I have to say. Erika, we could talk all day. I always say that, but I think really we really could be talking here all day.
That's true.
I like to leave things with future plans and projects that you may like to share with us. So, is there anything specific that's on your mind too? I know you're working on your gold work and the kind of project that's sparking off. You got anything to share with us to keep an eye on, get excited about over the next while, Erika?
Well, first of all, if listeners interested, they can buy my book. It's called The Weirding Way, The Mysterious Art of Weaving Your Own Destiny, where I really dive deeply into my own personal transformation story to embroidery. And I explain the different symbolism. And it's also like a description at the end of the book about my vision, about establishing a foundation for embroidered arts all around the world, and also opening like a shop to bring together, like building a platform for those beautiful indigenous embroidered textiles. And I've also developed an online course, The Weirding Way, Soul Journey, based on my book. And as I mentioned, I'm also developing this weaving wealth with the golden threads kind of program. So those are things which are like unfolding and emerging, and which I like to share with the others.
Yeah, that's great. So there's quite a few links for Erika. So they'll be on your page on Stitchery Stories. That's probably the easiest way to connect everything together. And Erika's also on YouTube. She's on YouTube, but I meant to say it was Instagram as well. Loads of absolutely fascinating things. I know at the moment, obviously, travel's very difficult. Do you have an intention to travel again back, around Kazakhstan or Mongolia and go and do more travel and more research in person, as it were? Would you like to do that again?
Oh, yes. I would have loved to go there back this summer as well, because I'm in close contact with my family there. And they're finally, after a few years, they also realized what this is all about for me with this whole embroidery. Yeah. I'm also felt a call like to do a PhD one day.
That would be fascinating.
To dive deep into this research area. Yeah. So it's not something which is finished. It's like unfolding, and
it really is unfolding, isn't it? It really is unfolding. I think it's just brilliant. I love the thing about weaving your own destiny. I'm very much of the opinion that we create what we want to create. So, I think this is all absolutely and utterly fascinating. I am so thankful, Erika, for you taking the time today to share just a glimpse of your fascinating story. And really look forward to seeing where you take this. And I think everybody will be absolutely fascinated to kind of see what you can do to keep the traditional embroidery of those regions alive and share it with others as well. So I think that's a really great vision that you have as well, that we'd all like to keep up with and find out how that goes as well. Just thank you so much, Erika. It's been absolutely fascinating.
Oh, thank you so much, Susan, for this space together and for witnessing and asking me these beautiful questions that I could tell my story and share it with others, because I think this is part of our natural development.
Yes, definitely.
Once we recognize our gifts and our passions, to share them with others, and that's how, this like love and beauty and wholeness, that's how it gets spread around the world. That's how we actually weave the new tapestry of humanity. So thank you very much. This is a blessing to have been here.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You've got me in tears again now. In a lovely way. Right, that's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Erika. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, then please join the Stitchery Stories fan club so you can get an email when a new episode is released. It's a quick and easy way of listening and of keeping up with any news and information around this podcast. Please visit stitcherystories.com. Of course, you can listen to Stitchery Stories on plenty of podcast apps at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify and plenty more besides. You can also ask your smart speaker to play Stitchery Stories podcast too. But wherever you listen, why not leave us a rating and a review to encourage other people to listen too? I very much appreciate you taking the time to do that for me. So that is the end of our Stitchery story for today. Keep stitching, keep smiling, and keep creating your very own Stitchery Stories.